I'll now recognize the honourable member for Calgary Bow. Calgary Bow.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I'd like to acknowledge that I'm on Treaty 6 territory and that my riding of Calgary Bow is on Treaty 7 territory. I'm honoured today to rise and give my maiden speech. I cannot adequately express the privilege and delight I feel standing in this assembly amongst my colleagues. I would also like to express my gratitude to the constituents of Calgary Bow for putting their trust in me and I promise every day to continue listening, learning, and working hard on their behalf. They are, after all, the reason I am here, Madam Speaker. I was elected on a platform that promised change. And when I went door to door to speak with the residents of my riding, I heard their concerns around health care, education, jobs, and the care of seniors. As I campaigned, I told them that I would hold true to my strong progressive values and the values of my party, and I promised to not let them down. I thank you for the opportunity to respond to the throne speech and would like to first take note of the celebration of International Women's Day and the struggle for personhood. The government's recognition of the struggle for human rights for all genders is something I'm very proud of. The throne speech addressed key priorities that will benefit Albertan families in a real way. The new Alberta Child Benefit Plan will invest $340 million, and that investment will directly help 380,000 Albertan children. Another important priority, as laid in the throne speech, was the act to end predatory lending. This industry hurts vulnerable Albertans, and I'm glad this government is standing up to end predatory lending. I am also proud of the investment of $34 billion to build roads, transit, schools, and other facilities in our province that we need to support the economy and create jobs. I hear about the need for these infrastructure projects in my riding, and I look forward to seeing the West Springs Cougar Ridge School open early 2017. I would also like to take this opportunity here to thank my family for the support they have given in all of my endeavors. Many members of my family worked tirelessly throughout my campaign. The support I receive from my family is what keeps me strong. And I can always count on my immediate family, as strong, stubborn women, to let me know when I am wrong. I hope my nieces Gwen and Mare will inherit that strength. Outside of family supports, my campaign was also organized by an amazing group of volunteers. People from all over the riding came to help, and it was the hard work of these dedicated folks that made sure the signs were ordered and the phones were answered. My campaign manager worked day and night to support me and the NDP, and I am so grateful for all he has done. The campaign was an interesting experience, and balancing my university classes, part-time work, and an active door-knocking schedule in April and May was challenging. I knocked on doors, put up signs, met face-to-face with as many people as possible. I wanted to hear their concerns directly and began to understand the issues that face the residents of my riding. However, it was something I would do all over again, and I will, Madam Speaker, in 2019. Of course, the months that followed my election on May 5th were more difficult than I can express. My first few days after being elected as part of the NDP government was a quick and painful learning curve of what it meant to be a young woman in politics. This is a story you might have likely heard, perhaps in The Sun or any other current print publication. Through it all, my family and supporters stood strong with me. I experienced online harassment, yes, but more accurately, I experienced gender-based violence. Unfortunately, my situation isn't unique, and I recognize my privilege, as I know for many other women it would have been a lot worse. Gender-based harassment has become normalized within our society. Online or offline, it shouldn't be acceptable. Madam Speaker, I am dedicated to speaking out and standing up against harassment, and I expect my colleagues to do the same. We must set an example, and we must work together to end the culture around gender-based violence. After I was elected, there was no shortage of discussion in the news and no lack of speculation on who I am and what I believe in. My work in Calgary-Bow and my work with social justice legislation are clear examples of some of what I stand for. Before being elected, I was a student at Mount Royal University working towards my degree in sociology. For a number of years, I've been a committed activist on women's rights. Through that work, I've met with many strong and inspiring women who I call role models. Role models like Ruth Allen Berceau, Nikki Ashton, and my sister Jennifer. They kept me focused on the work that I was elected to do and the importance of my role. Elected leaders are the voice of their constituents, and that responsibility is the most important part of my job. Madam Speaker, I am proud of my roots in the riding of Calgary-Bow. I was born in 1988 in Calgary, where I was raised. That year was hosted by the Olympic Winter Games, and the people around the world were glued to their televisions watching hockey stars, figure skaters, bobsled teams, and other athletes compete. I'm proud to say that Canada Olympic Park is in my riding of Calgary-Bow, and I am proud to be an Olympic baby. Calgary-Bow is located in the northwest and southwest quadrants of the city. It includes the communities of Crestmont, Coach Hill, Patterson Heights, Greenwood Village, Cougar Ridge, West Springs, Valley Ridge, and in the heart of Calgary-Bow is Bowness. The 2013 flood greatly impacted my riding, causing serious damage, particularly in the community of Bowness. Many of my constituents were evacuated and returned home to damaged property. I've spoken to so many of those who were affected, and flood mitigation remains a major concern. I am proud that this government has taken serious action on this. The Alberta Community Resilience Program is a necessary fund from the province that will build flood barriers and manage infrastructure. It is important that we do not forget the devastation that occurred in 2013 and that we continue to look at why the flood had the impact it did, so we are not faced with the same problems in the future. Today, there are so many active organizations within my constituency. The following are a few of the organizations that I had the pleasure of visiting with. Pathway CSA, where I had the honor to participate in their 10th annual round dance. And may I add, the first ever MLA to attend that round dance. Simon House Recovery Center, where I've celebrated their path to sobriety at the end of every month. Bowness Senior Center, where I recently celebrated their 50th anniversary. Bow West Community Resource Center that links individuals or families with appropriate services that will support them in their daily lives. The Boys and Girls Club that works to provide a safe, supportive place where children and youth can experience new opportunities, overcome barriers, and build positive relationships and develop confidence and skills for life. The Irish Cultural Center, where I had the pleasure of attending their 30th anniversary this month. As a child, I took Irish dancing at this center, and going back as an adult gave me an opportunity to reflect where I came from. One of the things I love doing the most is visiting with schools and talking to students about my role as an MLA. I'm very proud of the educational opportunities in my riding. Education is a priority for our government. In Calgary-Bow, the government has recently funded a modernization project at Bowness High School. Construction is already underway, as well as the construction of the West Springs Cougar Ridge Middle School. By reversing funding cuts to education, the government is prioritizing the needs of students in our province. I am so proud that alongside my work in my riding, I have also had the opportunity to pass both my private member's bill and my private member's motion. Bill 204. The Residential Tenancy, Safer Spaces for Victims of Domestic Violence Amendment Act was a step forward in ending domestic violence here in Alberta. I'm so proud of every single member in this legislature voted for this bill. It's because of you that survivors of domestic violence can escape from their perpetrators by breaking their lease without financial penalty. It was a truly historic moment in this province. Housing insecurity is one of the major barriers for women attempting to leave violence. Without safe houses, women and their children often end up living on the streets or returning to dangerous situations where the cycle of violence can continue indefinitely. My motion to increase community capacity to deliver transitional and low-barrier housing for vulnerable Albertans suffering with complex mental and physical health needs is a step forward to end homelessness here in the province. This motion speaks to the need to provide wraparound services for vulnerable people living in poverty. This is an important commitment to our legislature, and I'm proud of the unanimous support it received. Before I conclude, I would like to say that I'm proud to be part of a government that is prioritizing the hardworking people of Alberta and is focusing on improving labor conditions. It is important that workers who are the backbone of our economy are protected. It is important that everything we do everything we can to help them return safely from their work and uninjured to their families after a long day of work. As a member of this legislature, I take the responsibility seriously. My job is to fight for the rights of my constituents, many of whom sometimes work in dangerous conditions. I'm pleased to see that labor legislation will be reviewed and amended. In conclusion, Madam Speaker, I would like to return to the personal. I would like to recognize the important role of my grandmother Dale in my life. She raised me, and like so many women, she has raised generations of Albertan women. Her active volunteerism and community involvement is reflective in the strong work. Excuse me. And the strong work ethic I hold today. My great-grandmother, Frances, was also a strong role model for me. She and her family came to Canada leaving East Germany, seeking out a better life. I am so fortunate to have the resilience and humor passed down to me from my family matriarchs. Finally, Madam Speaker, I would like to say that I'm so grateful to the many women, young people, and progressive activists that supported me in my campaign and throughout my term thus far. And I'm here because of their beliefs and our shared values. And thank you so much.